The human fleet arrived at HFY after 3 days of maximum burn. 700,000 warships dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the system and found themselves facing the final defense of the Vralith Empire. Orbital fortresses ringed the homeworld, massive structures bristling with weapons. The remnants of the Vralith fleet, perhaps 20,000 ships gathered from across the Empire, waited in defensive formation. Admiral Daehyun studied the tactical display and felt no satisfaction. This was the end of a species' power, and endings were never clean or easy. But it had to be done. The biological weapons were being prepared even now. Every minute they delayed was another minute the Vralith could launch their final genocidal strike. "Open a channel to the Vralith High Council," Daehyun ordered. The communication went through. Grand Counselor Mervash appeared on screen, his crystalline body pulsing with colors that indicated defiance and rage. "You have come to destroy us," Mervash said. "Very well. We will fight to the last ship, the last soldier, the last citizen. The Vralith Empire will not go quietly." "You can surrender," Daehyun replied. "Stand down your defenses. Deactivate the biological weapons. Submit to trial for the massacre at New Haven. Your species will survive. Your civilians will be protected, but your empire is over." Mervash's colors flashed red. "We will never surrender to inferior species. We will never bow to humans. You want HFY? Come and take it." The channel closed. Daehyun sighed. He had offered mercy. They had refused it. What happened next was on them. "All ships," Daehyun broadcast, "weapons free. Primary targets are the biological weapons facilities. Secondary targets are military installations. Avoid civilian areas where possible. We are not here to commit genocide. We are here to stop one." Admiral Yunji's dreadnoughts moved forward first. The Vralith orbital fortresses opened fire immediately. Plasma beams lanced out, striking human shields. Several frigates took damage, but the dreadnoughts pushed through. Their quantum disruptors collapsed the fortress shields, and then the railguns fired. The fortresses were tough, built to withstand siege, but nothing was built to withstand the concentrated fire of 1,200 dreadnoughts. One by one, the fortresses exploded or went dark. The Vralith fleet charged forward to engage, but Admiral Minho's carriers were ready. Drone fighters swarmed the Vralith ships, keeping them busy while Admiral Sumi's destroyers slipped past and headed for the planet's surface. Intelligence Officer Sun-hee had provided exact coordinates for the biological weapons facilities. There were 3 of them, located in remote areas away from major cities. Sumi's destroyers dropped out of orbit and began precision strikes. Missiles guided by AI systems threaded through valleys and canyons, striking the facilities with pinpoint accuracy. The first facility exploded in a fireball. The second was hit by a spread of kinetic penetrators that buried deep before detonating. The third facility had time to activate its defenses, but they were designed to stop Vralith weapons. Human railgun rounds punched through the shields and reduced the building to rubble. "All biological weapons facilities destroyed," Sumi reported. "No evidence of weapon deployment." Daehyun felt relief wash over him. That was the nightmare scenario prevented. Now they could finish this. The battle in orbit continued. The Vralith fleet fought with desperate courage, knowing they were defending their homeworld. But courage was not enough. The human fleet was larger, better equipped, and fighting with precision that came from advanced coordination systems. Ship after ship fell to human weapons. Commander Ji-won led a marine assault force to the surface. Their target was the Imperial Palace, where the High Council was sheltering in a reinforced bunker. The Marines dropped in assault pods, cutting through automated defenses with plasma torches and breaching charges. Ji-won's team reached the bunker entrance and began cutting through the armored door. Inside, Grand Counselor Mervash and the rest of the High Council waited. They had no weapons. They had no escape. They had only their pride, and pride was not going to save them. The door fell inward with a crash. Human Marines poured through, weapons ready. Mervash stood in the center of the chamber, surrounded by the other counselors. "You have won," Mervash said. His colors had faded to dull gray. "What happens now?" "Now you face justice," Ji-won said. "You will be tried for crimes against sapient species. Every species you conquered will have the chance to testify. And then you will be sentenced according to galactic law." "There is no galactic law," Mervash said. "There is only power. We had it, now you have it. That is all there is." "Then we will create galactic law," Ji-won replied. "And you will be the first to face it." The High Council was taken into custody. Grand Admiral Koresh, captured at Vralken, was brought to join them. The architects of the New Haven massacre were in human hands. The battle in orbit was ending. The last Vralith warships were surrendering or being destroyed. Admiral Daehyun ordered ceasefire once organized resistance stopped. There was no point in killing enemies who had given up. President Soo-hyun arrived aboard the diplomatic vessel Unity 3 days later. She came with representatives from all the liberated species, 47 different races that had suffered under Vralith rule. Together, they established the Tribunal of Justice on neutral ground, a space station that had once been a Vralith trading post. The trial began 30 days later. The charges were read in a chamber that held representatives from 48 species: genocide, war crimes, crimes against sapient life, slavery, systematic oppression. The list went on for hours. The evidence was presented methodically. Video from New Haven showing the massacre. Testimony from survivors like Hana. Records recovered from Vralith databases showing decades of conquest and subjugation. Scientists explained the biological weapons program and what would have happened if it had been deployed. Grand Counselor Mervash was allowed to speak in his defense. He stood before the tribunal and showed no remorse. "We built an empire," he said. "We brought order to chaos. We civilized primitive species and gave them purpose. If some died in the process, that is the price of progress. We make no apologies for our actions." "Then you will receive no mercy for your crimes," President Soo-hyun replied. The tribunal deliberated for 3 days. The verdict was unanimous. Guilty on all charges. The sentence: life imprisonment on a neutral world, guarded by representatives from all 47 liberated species. The Vralith Empire was formally dissolved. All conquered territories were granted immediate independence. The Vralith military was disbanded. SciFiPrime would be placed under quarantine for 50 years, during which time the Vralith people would rebuild their society under supervision. Hana attended the trial every day. She sat in the front row and watched as the beings responsible for her mother's death, her father's death, her friends' deaths were brought to account. When the sentence was read, she felt something she had not felt since the attack. Not happiness, not satisfaction, just a sense that the universe still had some justice in it. After the trial, she met with President Soo-hyun privately. "What happens now?" Hana asked. "We destroyed their empire. We punished their leaders. But New Haven is still gone. All those people are still dead." Soo-hyun nodded slowly. "Justice is not the same as restoration. We cannot bring back the dead. But we can make sure they are remembered, and we can build something better so this never happens again." The memorial was erected on the ruins of New Haven. It was a simple structure, a wall of polished stone that caught the light. On it were carved 2,300,000 names, every person who died, every life that was taken. Hana stood before the wall, running her fingers over the names. Her mother, her father, her friends, all of them remembered, all of them honored. Admiral Daehyun stood beside her. "We did what we came to do. We brought them justice. Is that enough?" "No," Hana said quietly. "It will never be enough. But it's all we can do." The ceremony drew representatives from across human space and from the 47 liberated species. Each one placed a flower or stone at the base of the memorial. Each one spoke words of remembrance. President Soo-hyun gave the dedication speech. "We did not seek this war. We did not want to become a military power. We wanted only to explore, to build, to grow. But when they came for our people, we showed them what humanity becomes when you threaten our children. Let this memorial stand as a reminder. We are peaceful. We are patient. But we are never helpless." After the ceremony, the political work began. The 48 species, including humanity, formed the Galactic Coalition for Peace. Its purpose was simple: prevent another empire from rising and threatening innocent lives. The coalition would maintain a combined fleet, drawn from all member species, ready to respond to aggression. Admiral Daehyun was offered command of the coalition fleet. He accepted, but with one condition: this fleet exists to defend, not to conquer. We intervene to stop atrocities, not to build our own empire. The moment we forget that, we become what we fought against. The Vralith people, ordinary citizens who had no voice in their government's crimes, were allowed to remain on their homeworld. Many of them were ashamed of what their leaders had done. A new generation of Vralith, led by scientist Rilvesh, who had warned humanity about the biological weapons, began working to change their society. The Vralith Armada gathered at Vralken over the course of 30 days. 80,000 warships formed into battle formations around the industrial world. Grand Admiral Koresh stood on the bridge of the Eternal Dominion and felt satisfied. This was the largest fleet the Vralith had ever assembled. It filled the orbital space around Vralken like a glittering cloud of crystal. Koresh reviewed the battle plans one final time. The humans had numbers, but the Vralith had defensive positions. The shipyards and orbital stations gave them additional firepower. The human fleet would have to come to them, and when they did, they would fly into a killing field. Plasma cannons would tear through their formations. The battle would be over in hours. Contact the High Council, Koresh ordered. Tell them we are ready. When the humans arrive, we will destroy them and then proceed to their homeworld. The message was sent. On HFY, Grand Counselor Mervash received it with satisfaction. Finally, the humans would learn their place. The Empire would be restored. Order would return. But Mervash did not know that Sunhee had intercepted every communication. She sat in her intelligence station aboard the Retribution, reading Vralith messages as fast as they could decrypt them. She knew the Vralith formation. She knew their strategy. She knew exactly what Koresh planned. Admiral Daehyun, she reported, the Vralith are set. They are waiting for us to attack their defensive line. Daehyun studied the tactical display. 80,000 Vralith ships arranged in a sphere around Vralken. It looked impressive. It looked impenetrable. But Daehyun had fought in the resource wars. He knew that static defenses always had weaknesses. Admiral Minho, Daehyun said, prepare your drone fighters. I need 500,000 of them ready to launch. Minho grinned. Target? Everything. I want the Vralith so focused on shooting down drones that they forget to watch for our real attack. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Vralken system. 700,000 ships appeared on Vralith sensors. Koresh watched the tactical display and nodded. The humans had come in force just as he expected. They would attack the defensive sphere and he would break them against it. But the humans did not attack immediately. Instead, the carriers moved forward and began launching drones. Thousands at first, then tens of thousands, then hundreds of thousands. The drones swarmed forward like locusts, filling space with targets. Point defense systems, fire at will, Koresh ordered. The Vralith ships opened fire. Plasma beams swept through space, destroying drones by the hundreds. But for every drone destroyed, 10 more took its place. The Vralith gunners worked frantically, trying to shoot down the endless swarm. Their sensors were overwhelmed by the sheer number of targets, which was exactly what Daehyun wanted. While the Vralith focused on the drones, Admiral Sumi's stealth destroyers moved. 4,000 ships, invisible to Vralith sensors, slipped through the gaps in the defensive sphere. They positioned themselves behind the Vralith capital ships, targeting engines and weapons. All destroyers, Sumi whispered into her comm. Fire! 4,000 destroyers unleashed their weapons simultaneously. Torpedoes and missiles struck Vralith ships from behind, hitting their most vulnerable points. Engines exploded. Weapon systems went offline. Dozens of Vralith capital ships went dead in space, crippled before they could respond. Koresh realized too late what had happened. They tricked us. All ships turn and engage the destroyers, but turning a capital ship took time. And while they turned, Admiral Yunji's dreadnoughts arrived. 1,200 massive warships dropped out of hyperspace directly in front of the Vralith formation. The quantum disruptors fired first, collapsing shields across the Vralith line. Then the railguns spoke. Tungsten rods moving at tremendous speed slammed into crystalline hulls. Ships shattered. Debris scattered across the battlefield. The beautiful crystal ships that had seemed so invincible were breaking apart like glass. The battle became chaos. The Vralith tried to reform their lines, but human ships were everywhere. Minho's carriers continued launching drones, keeping Vralith point defense busy. Sumi's destroyers darted through the formation, striking and fading before the Vralith could respond. Yunji's dreadnoughts hammered away at the capital ships, reducing them to fragments. Koresh watched his fleet dying around him. This was not possible. The Vralith did not lose battles. They had never lost a major engagement in 300 years. How were these humans doing this? Grand Admiral, his tactical officer reported, we have lost 60% of our fleet. Recommend immediate withdrawal. Koresh wanted to refuse. Retreat was surrender. Surrender was unthinkable. But he was a practical commander. If he stayed, his entire fleet would be destroyed. Better to save what he could and regroup. All ships begin emergency jump procedures. We are withdrawing to HFY. But Yunji had anticipated this. Her dreadnoughts had positioned themselves along the retreat vector. When the HFY ships began turning to jump, they found human warships waiting for them. The HFY fleet was trapped between Yunji's hammer and the rest of the human fleet behind them. The slaughter continued for another 2 hours. By the time the last HFY ship was destroyed or captured, 67,000 HFY vessels were gone. Only 13,000 escaped, jumping to random coordinates in a panic. The mighty HFY armada, the pride of the Empire, had been shattered. Human losses, 4,200 ships. Most of those were destroyers that had taken damage in close combat. No dreadnoughts were lost. No carriers were destroyed. The humans had won a complete victory. Koresh's flagship, the Eternal Dominion, tried to escape, but a spread of missiles from a human cruiser struck its engines. The ship went dead, drifting in space. Human Marines boarded it within the hour. Commander Jiwon led the boarding team. They found Koresh on his bridge, surrounded by dead officers who had chosen to die rather than be captured. Koresh himself was injured but alive. "You fight without honor," Koresh said through the translator. "You use tricks and deception." Jiwon looked at him without sympathy. "You murdered 2 million unarmed civilians without warning. Do not talk to us about honor." They took Koresh prisoner and transported him to the Retribution. Daehyun questioned him personally. "Your empire is finished," Daehyun said. "Your fleet is destroyed. The species you conquered are in open rebellion. You have lost." "The High Council will never surrender," Koresh said. "They will build new fleets. They will fight on. Then we will destroy those fleets too, however long it takes, whatever the cost. You started this war when you killed New Haven. We will end it when justice is served." News of the Battle of Vralken spread across the galaxy faster than light. On 47 conquered worlds, species that had lived under Vralith rule for generations heard that the Empire had lost its entire fleet. The invincible Vralith were not invincible after all. The rebellions intensified. On Calvix Prime, the Mekrin drove the last Vralith soldiers off their world. On Hest, the Donari declared independence and established their own government. On world after world, the subject species rose up and threw off their chains. Yuna traveled from world to world with her diplomatic team, offering support and alliance. The freed species were eager to join. They had seen what the humans could do. They wanted to be on the winning side. Within 60 days, the Vralith Empire had shrunk from 300 systems to just 50. The core worlds remained under Imperial control, but everything else was gone. The subject species had their freedom, and they intended to keep it. On Vralith Prime, the High Council met in emergency session. Grand Counselor Mervash looked at the reports and felt something he had never experienced before. Fear. "We have lost everything," Counselor Dreschk said. "The fleet is gone. The conquered territories are in rebellion. Even our own people are questioning the Council's leadership." "We still have the homeworld," Mervash said. "We still have the orbital defenses. We still have 50 systems loyal to the Empire. We can rebuild." "Rebuild with what?" Counselor Vethrin asked. "Our shipyards were at Vralken. The humans destroyed them. Our resources came from conquered worlds. Those worlds are free now. We have nothing left to build with." Silence fell over the council chamber. They were the rulers of what had been the greatest empire in the galaxy. Now they ruled ruins. Intelligence Officer Veshka spoke carefully. "There is one option remaining. The biological weapons program. It was developed for use against resistant species during conquest campaigns. We never deployed it because the weapons are too dangerous. They could wipe out entire ecosystems. Use them on the humans," Mervash said immediately. "If we are to fall, let us take them with us." "That would be genocide," Veshka said. "The humans would respond by exterminating our species entirely." "They intend to do that anyway," Mervash replied. "I have seen their broadcasts. They speak of justice and trials. They will execute us all. Better to go down fighting," the council voted. The biological weapons program was approved. Scientists who had designed the weapons in secret laboratories were ordered to prepare them for deployment. The target, Earth and every human colony they could reach. But the council did not know that one of their own scientists was horrified by the order. His name was Rilvesh, and he had helped develop the biological weapons. He knew what they could do. The message from New Haven reached Earth 37 days after the colony fell silent. Fleet Admiral Daehyun was in his office at Terra Command when the quantum relay activated. He had been reviewing routine patrol reports, the kind of paperwork that filled the days of peacetime military service, the war games, the training exercises, the endless preparation for a fight that never came, until now. Daehyun listened to Jun's message 3 times. Then he listened to Hana's message twice. His hands did not shake. His voice did not waver when he called his staff. 30 years of military service had taught him to control his reactions, but inside something cold and hard was forming in his chest. 2 million people gone. For what? For existing? For building homes on a world far from anyone else? Get me the Council of Nations, Daehyun told his assistant. Emergency session, immediately. Within 2 hours, every major leader on Earth was connected by secure video link. President Soo-yun appeared on the main screen from Seoul, Prime Minister Chen from New Beijing, Chancellor Fisher from Berlin Station, Speaker Williams from Washington District. 53 nations, unified under one government since the resource wars ended 40 years ago. Soo-hyun spoke first. She had listened to the recordings. Her face was pale, but her voice was iron. The aliens gave no warning, no declaration of war, no demands. They simply killed everyone. 2,300,000 of our people. This cannot stand. We don't even know who they are, Chancellor Fisher said. We have no intelligence on their military capacity, their territory, their intentions. Their intentions are clear, Daehyun said quietly. They intend to kill us wherever they find us. New Haven was a test. They wanted to see if we would respond. If we let this pass, they will come again. Next time it might be Mars, or Earth itself. The debate lasted 6 hours. Some argued for caution, for diplomacy, for understanding. But as they talked, more reports came in. Deep space monitoring stations had picked up traces of the alien fleet. Analysis of the attack patterns from New Haven's final sensor readings gave them data on weapons, shields, and ship capabilities. And then the analysts found something else. Signals Intelligence had detected similar energy signatures near 3 other human colonies. The aliens were already moving toward them. The vote was unanimous. Total mobilization. Every ship, every soldier, every resource. How long? Soo-hyun asked Daehyun. To assemble the fleet? 90 days. We have ships scattered across 30 light years. Bringing them together will take time. You have 60 days, Soo-hyun said. Whatever is coming for our other colonies, we stop it. And then we find their homeworld and make them answer for New Haven. Daehyun saluted. Yes, ma'am. The assembly began immediately. From Mars orbit, the 3rd Fleet broke off exercises and began loading supplies. From Jupiter Station, the 7th Fleet powered up drives that had been cold for years. From the mining stations in the belt, the patrol groups received their orders and turned toward Earth. Admiral Yoonji commanded the Titan-class dreadnoughts, the largest warships humanity had ever built. Each one was 3 kilometers long, armed with weapons designed to crack asteroids and orbital fortresses. There were 1,200 of them. Yoonji started running combat drills immediately, knowing her ships would be the hammer that broke enemy formations. Admiral Minho led the carrier groups. Humanity had learned from old Earth history that fighters and bombers could swarm larger ships, overwhelming their defenses through sheer numbers. Each carrier held 5,000 drone fighters, controlled by AI systems that could coordinate attacks across light-second distances. Minho had 800 carriers under his command. Admiral Sumi controlled the stealth destroyer wings. These ships were small, fast, and nearly invisible to sensors. They could slip past enemy lines and strike at supply ships, command centers, and infrastructure. Sumi had 4,000 destroyers. She began planning infiltration routes into unknown space. While the military prepared, the science division worked on different problems. Engineer Bora studied the sensor data from New Haven. The alien shields had absorbed massive amounts of energy without failing. Human weapons had barely scratched them. She needed a solution. Bora worked for 16 hours straight, running simulations and testing theories. Finally, she found it. The alien shields operated on a specific frequency, probably because all their technology was based on crystalline structures. If human weapons could be tuned to disrupt that frequency, the shields would collapse. She called it the quantum disruptor. Within 3 weeks, every human weapon was being retrofitted with the new technology. It was untested in real combat, but the simulations were promising. Weapons specialist Junho focused on a different problem. The alien hulls were crystalline, Harder than anything humanity used for ship construction. Missiles and energy weapons would take too long to crack them. Yunyo proposed a simpler solution.
Kinetic weapons.
Railguns firing solid tungsten rods at a significant fraction of light speed. Physics would do the rest. The factories on Luna went into overtime, producing millions of tungsten penetrators. Every ship would carry enough ammunition to fight for hours. While Earth prepared for war, a rescue mission was already underway. Commander Jiwon led a stealth team to New Haven aboard the scout ship Silent Running. They had to move carefully. Intelligence suggested the aliens might have left monitoring stations to watch for survivors. Jiwon's team approached New Haven using passive sensors only, drifting on minimal power to avoid detection. What they found made Jiwon's stomach turn. The colony was glass. The plasma bombardment had been so intense that the ground itself had melted and fused. Nothing remained of the buildings, the domes, or the people. Just a smooth, glassy plain that reflected the starlight. Scanning for underground structures, the sensor officer reported. There, 3 kilometers down. The seed vault. It's intact. Life signs? Jiwon asked. 1. Human. Weak, but alive. They landed near the vault entrance and cut through the sealed door with laser torches. Inside, they found Hana. She was unconscious, dehydrated, and suffering from malnutrition. She had survived 53 days alone in the dark. Medical officer Kyungmi stabilized her during the flight back to Earth. When Hana woke up in the military hospital, Daehyun was waiting. He did not waste time with pleasantries. I need you to tell me everything you remember. Every detail. It might save lives. Hana sat up slowly. Her voice was hoarse but clear. They didn't care. That's what you need to understand. We weren't enemies to them. We were insects. They saw our colony and decided to erase it. No anger, no hate, just casual murder. Did you see their ships clearly? Yes, crystal structures. Beautiful, really. Like works of art. They caught the light and scattered it into colors. I watched one of them destroy a transport ship full of children. It was so beautiful and so terrible. Intelligence Director Hyunwoo took notes on everything Hana said. Every observation went into the tactical database. The aliens had shields, but they took time to recharge between shots. The aliens had powerful weapons, but they fired slowly. The aliens were confident, perhaps overconfident. They've done this before, Hyunwoo concluded. Multiple times. This is routine for them. That made it worse somehow. New Haven was not special. It was just another extermination in a long list. The fleet assembly reached completion on day 58. 700,000 warships gathered in formation around Earth. Daehyun stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Retribution, and looked at the tactical display. Every ship showed green. Every crew was ready. President Soo-hyun broadcast to every vessel simultaneously. They came to our home. They killed our families. They thought we were weak. They thought we would accept this. They were wrong. Show them what happens when humanity goes to war. Bring our people justice. The fleet entered hyperspace as one. 700,000 points of light vanished from Earth orbit. Destination. The last known position of the alien fleet. After that, they would follow the trail until they found the alien homeworld. And then Daehyun thought, then we teach them what mercy looks like when you have shown none. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Catherine system. Admiral Daehyun watched the tactical display update as sensors swept the area. 4,000 ships hung in orbit around a gas giant. They were crystalline vessels, identical in design to the ones that destroyed New Haven. Alien patrol fleet detected, the sensor officer reported. They're powering weapons. Daehyun nodded slowly. Broadcast on all frequencies. Tell them we are here for justice. They destroyed New Haven. They killed 2 million of our people. They can surrender now or they can die. The communications officer sent the message. For 60 seconds, nothing happened. Then a reply came back. It was not in any human language, but the translation software worked quickly. The message was simple. Primitive species. Leave this space or be destroyed. You have no authority here. Daehyun smiled without humor. Admiral Yoonji, you may fire when ready. Yoonji's dreadnought division moved forward. 1,200 massive ships, each one bristling with weapons. The quantum disruptors activated first, invisible beams that struck the alien shields. For 3 seconds, nothing seemed to happen. Then the shields flickered and collapsed, exposing the crystalline hulls beneath. The railguns fired next. Tungsten rods accelerated to impossible speeds. crossing the distance in heartbeats. When they hit the alien ships, the crystal hulls shattered. Entire vessels broke apart like glass dropped on stone. The aliens had built beautiful ships, but beautiful did not mean strong. The alien fleet tried to respond. Their plasma weapons charged slowly, taking precious seconds to fire. In those seconds, human missiles arrived. Thousands of them. Overwhelming point defense systems that were never designed to handle such numbers. Explosions rippled through the alien formation. Enemy fleet combat effectiveness down to 60%, the tactical officer reported. 40%. 20%. Daehyun watched as 4,000 alien ships became debris. The engagement lasted 19 minutes. Not a single human vessel was destroyed. 3 frigates took minor damage from plasma hits, but their redundant systems kept them in the fight. When it was over, silence filled the bridge of the Retribution. The crew stared at their screens, almost unable to believe what they had just done. 4,000 enemy ships gone just like that. Scan for survivors, Daehyun ordered. If any aliens survived in escape pods, recover them. We are not like them. They found 37 survivors. All of them were injured. Medical officer Kyungmi treated them with the same care she would give human patients. The aliens seemed confused by this. They had expected to be executed. One of them, a junior officer named Rilthan, spoke through the translation device. Why do you help us? We are your enemies. Kyungmi did not look up from bandaging his wounds. You are prisoners now. We do not murder prisoners. That is the difference between you and us. Daehyun questioned Rilthan personally. The alien was terrified, which was good. Terror made people talk. What are you called? Daehyun asked. I am Vralith. We are the Vralith Empire. We rule 47 species across 300 systems. Ruled. Daehyun corrected. Past tense. Your empire just lost its first battle. Tell me about your military. How many ships? Where are they located? Rilthan hesitated, then spoke. Loyalty to the empire was one thing. Loyalty to an empire that was losing was something else. He told Daehyun everything. The Vralith had 80,000 warships, concentrated in 3 main fleets. Their largest fleet was defending the core worlds. The second fleet was on the border with another alien species. The third fleet was scattered across conquered territories, keeping subject species under control. The High Council will mobilize everything when they hear of this defeat, Rilthan said. Grand Admiral Koresh commands our forces. He has never lost a battle. There is a first time for everything, Daehyun said. He broadcast a second message on all Vralith frequencies. This time it included video from New Haven. The recording showed the colony before the attack. Children playing in parks, families eating together, scientists working in laboratories. Then it showed the attack, the plasma fire, the running people, the dying children. This is what you did, Daehyun said in the recording. You destroyed an unarmed colony without warning. You killed everyone. You thought we would not respond. You were wrong. Surrender your leaders for trial, or every world you control will face the same justice you gave New Haven. The message spread through Vralith space like fire through dry grass. More importantly, it reached the 47 species under Vralith control. These species had suffered under Vralith rule for decades or centuries. They had been conquered, enslaved, and brutalized. They had thought the Vralith were invincible. The message showed them otherwise. The mighty Vralith Empire had lost a fleet. The humans had destroyed 4,000 ships in minutes. If the Vralith could be beaten, they could be overthrown. On the industrial world of Calvex Prime, a species called the Mekran staged an uprising. They had been forced to build Vralith weapons for 60 years. Now they seized the factories and began building weapons for themselves. The Vralith garrison tried to suppress the revolt, but the Mekran had numbers on their side. Millions of workers overwhelmed thousands of soldiers. On the agricultural world of Hest, the Donari people burned the tribute ships that took their food to Vralith worlds. Let the Vralith starve for once. Let them know what it felt like to be hungry. On 12 other worlds, similar rebellions began. The Vralith Empire, which had seemed so strong, began to crack from within. Intelligence officer Sunhee monitored all of this from her station aboard the Retribution. She had hacked into Vralith communication networks using codes recovered from the captured ships. Every message, every order, every panicked report from Vralith commanders flowed through her computers. The Vralith are in chaos, she reported to Daehyun. They are pulling ships from the border fleets to suppress the rebellions. Their military is stretched thin. Good, Daehyun said. Admiral Minho, take your carrier groups to the rebelling worlds. Provide air support to the rebels. Drop supplies, weapons, and medical equipment. Show them that we are on their side. Minho's 800 carriers jumped to 12 different systems. They arrived to find desperate people fighting against Vralith occupation forces. The carriers launched their fighters, thousands of drones that swept the skies clear of Vralith gunships. Then they dropped supply pods, food, medicine, and most importantly, weapons. A diplomat named Yuna accompanied the carrier groups. She met with rebel leaders on each world, offering formal alliances. Earth would support their independence if they agreed to join a coalition against the Vralith. Every rebel group agreed immediately. On HFY, the imperial capital, the High Council met in emergency session. Grand Counselor Mervash presided, his crystalline body flashing colors that indicated stress and anger. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "How can a single species destroy an entire patrol fleet? Where did they get such technology? The humans have been in space for over 200 years, Intelligence Officer Veshka reported. They have colonies across 50 systems. They have been building ships and weapons for decades. We simply never noticed them. They were beneath our notice, Mervash said, an insignificant species on the edge of mapped space. We removed their colony as a matter of course. It was in our expansion zone. That colony is why they are here, Veshka said carefully. They call it New Haven. 2 million humans lived there. We killed all of them. The humans are responding to what they see as an atrocity." "Atrocity?" Mervash's colors flashed red. "We have claimed thousands of worlds. We have removed hundreds of species who stood in our way. This is how empires are built. The humans should understand this." "The humans," Veshka said quietly, "do not build empires that way." Mervash was silent for a moment. Then he made his decision. "Mobilize the full might of the empire. Contact Grand Admiral Koresh. Tell him to gather every warship we possess. We will crush these humans and make an example of their homeworld. No species challenges the Vralith and survives." Koresh received his orders aboard the flagship Eternal Dominion. He was an old soldier, a veteran of 50 conquest campaigns. He had never faced an enemy that could match Vralith technology. But he was not foolish. The humans had destroyed a patrol fleet. That meant they had something new, some weapon or tactic the Vralith had not encountered before. He would not underestimate them. He would bring overwhelming force, 80,000 ships against their 700,000. The numbers favored the humans, but numbers were not everything. The Vralith had experience. They had discipline. They had 3 centuries of unbroken victory. Koresh ordered the fleet to assemble at the industrial world of Vralken. It would take time to gather so many ships from across the empire. But when they were ready, they would advance and show the humans what true military power looked like. Daehyun received reports of the Vralith mobilization. Sunhee's intelligence network was working perfectly. They knew where the Vralith were gathering. They knew how many ships. They knew the name of the commanding officer. Vralken, Daehyun said, studying the star charts. An industrial world. They are gathering there because it has shipyards and supply depots. Do we hit them before they finish assembling? Admiral Yunji asked. The morning sun rose over New Haven like any other day. June stood at the observation deck of the Central Administration Building, watching the agricultural domes gleam in the early light. His daughter Hana would be starting her shift at Dome 7 soon. His wife Mireille was already at the medical center, preparing for the day's routine checkups. 15 years of hard work had turned this barren rock into a home for 2,300,000 people. June smiled as he sipped his coffee. The terraforming was ahead of schedule. In another 5 years, they could walk outside without environment suits. Children born here would breathe open air. That was the dream. That was why they had come so far from Earth. The alert came without warning. Alarms screamed through every building. June's coffee cup shattered on the floor as he ran to the command center. The screen showed impossible readings. Ships, dozens of them. No, hundreds. They had appeared in orbit like ghosts. Massive crystalline vessels that caught the sunlight and scattered it into rainbow fragments. "Get me Captain Taiyang," June shouted at his communications officer. On the military frequency, Captain Taiyang's face appeared. He was young, only 32, commanding the single defense frigate assigned to New Haven. The Indomitable was never meant to fight a real battle. It was there to chase away pirates and respond to emergencies. Administrator June, I'm broadcasting our identification codes and peace protocols, Taiyang said. His voice was steady, but his hands gripped the armrests of his command chair. They're not responding to any hails. Keep trying, June said. There has to be a misunderstanding, but there was no misunderstanding. The first plasma beam struck the northern shield generator. The installation, designed to protect against asteroids and radiation, held for exactly 3 seconds before it exploded. The shockwave knocked out power to half the colony. June's screens flickered and died, then came back on emergency power. All channels, this is Administrator June. He broadcast on the colony-wide network. Begin immediate evacuation procedures. This is not a drill. Get to the transport ships now. Outside his window, he could see people running through the streets. Parents carried children. The elderly moved as fast as they could. The transport pads were designed to handle normal traffic, not a panicked evacuation of millions. Already, crowds were forming, pushing, desperate to escape. The Indomitable fired everything it had at the nearest alien ship. Missiles and railgun rounds struck the crystalline hull and bounced off harmlessly. The alien vessel barely seemed to notice. It turned slowly, like a whale acknowledging a mosquito, and fired once. The Indomitable vanished in a ball of white fire. Captain Taiyang and his crew of 47 were gone in an instant. June felt his legs weaken. He grabbed the edge of a console to stay standing. The aliens were not here to talk. They were not here to negotiate. They were here to kill. The transport ships began launching from the spaceport. June watched on the few working cameras as the heavy lifters designed to carry cargo, now packed with refugees. Each ship could hold 2,000 people. They needed hundreds of launches to save everyone. They would not get hundreds of launches. The first transport, the Morning Star, made it 50 kilometers into the atmosphere before an alien beam cut it in half. June watched 4,000 souls die. The transport behind it, the New Hope, was destroyed 3 seconds later. Then the Bright Future. Then the Tomorrow's Dream. The aliens were systematically destroying every ship that tried to leave. Mireille, June whispered, activating his personal communicator. Mireille, where are you? His wife's face appeared, shaky video from her mobile unit. She was in the medical center, surrounded by injured people. Blood covered her scrubs. Behind her, a wall exploded inward and the feed cut to static. Mireille! June screamed at the dead screen. Another alarm cut through his grief. The main shield generator, the last one protecting the city center, was failing. On the tactical display, he could see the alien ships moving into position. They were surrounding the colony, ensuring nothing escaped. This was not war. This was extermination, June forced himself to think. There had to be something, anything they could do. The emergency bunkers could hold 50,000 people. The deep mining tunnels might protect a few thousand more. It was not enough. It would never be enough. Through the window, he saw the sky turn white. Plasma bombardment rained down like burning snow. Buildings that had taken years to construct were vaporized in seconds. The agricultural domes, each one a miracle of engineering, burst like bubbles. The residential sectors, where children played and families lived, were scorched to ash. June activated the quantum transmitter. It was meant for official communications with Earth, expensive and slow. Now it was their only voice to the rest of humanity. He began recording. This is Colony Administrator June of New Haven. We are under attack by unknown hostile forces. They gave no warning. They offered no terms. 2 million people are dying as I speak. We never fired first. We never threatened them. They simply came and started killing us. The building shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. June kept recording. Tell Earth, tell everyone. These aliens showed us no mercy. Remember New Haven. Remember what they did to us. The transmission cut off as the power failed. June sat in darkness, listening to the sounds of his world dying. 3 kilometers beneath the surface, in a reinforced seed vault built to survive anything, Hana huddled in the dark. She had been checking the genetic samples when the attack began. The vault had automatically sealed when the surface sensors detected the orbital bombardment. She was trapped, but she was alive. The vault's emergency transmitter was still working. Hana activated it with shaking hands. She could hear the destruction above through the geological sensors. Every impact registered as a tremor in the rock. The tremors were constant now, overlapping, a drumbeat of annihilation. She thought of her father, probably dead in the administration building. Her mother, certainly dead at the medical center. Her friends, her neighbors, everyone she had ever known, all gone. Hannah began recording her own message. Her voice was steady, surprising even herself. This is Hannah, agricultural specialist from New Haven. I'm the only one left. They destroyed everything. The aliens gave us no chance to surrender, no chance to negotiate, no chance to run. They just killed us all. Every man, every woman, every child. This is what they do. This is who they are. Someone needs to make them answer for this. She sent the message on every frequency the transmitter could reach. It would take weeks to reach Earth, traveling through quantum relays. By then she might be dead too. The vault had air for 30 days, water for 40, food for 60. After that she would starve in the dark, but for now she was alive. She was a witness, and humanity would know what happened here.